back to Desmond's Garage. I'm Desmond, and today we are going to try again to make a bracket for my brake lights for my 1951 Dodge truck. These are the originals. This is the replacement housing. We need to make a bracket that goes in the back here that bolts it onto the truck. I say bolts it on, attaches it to the truck. So you may remember from the last video, we fabricated up our bracket. We made the cutouts for these rubber insulators where the wires come out, and then drilled holes for where it'll attach to the housing. And then we needed to make a bend for it to fit on the truck. The bracket comes to the side and then mounts vertically. When we went to bend it, our metal snapped, and I still don't know why it did. I cut it out of this piece of 16 gauge sheet metal that I got from Home Depot, and I've bought some before for other brackets I've made. Usually bends fine. This did not want to bend. It's like it had been hardened or something. It would bend for a bit and then just snap. I tried a few more bends off camera, and each time with the same result. It just kind of snapped. And I still don't know why. I wasn't bending it particularly acute angle. So who knows? I don't know what the problem is. I thought about getting another sheet, but then I realized I had this piece of flat bar that I got for a different purpose. This is 12 gauge, so even thicker, but it bends okay, as you can see from my little bending test here. It bends as it's supposed to. This is not as wide as our original part. This is 1 1/4 inch. Previously, the part that we had made was 1 1/2 inch. It doesn't really matter. It just needs to be thick enough to hold it. A 12 gauge steel is going to be thick enough. This is just a thin housing. It's pretty light. So what we're going to do, now that we feel comfortable we can bend this, we're going to cut out another bracket. We have to measure our shapes, cut out shapes again to fit on this. We'll draw it over here, drill our holes, get a bend, and hopefully get our bracket made this time. And the mystery of why this didn't work will live in infamy. So let's get started. We're out here with a little test fit, and I'm holding this in because I haven't put the nut on the other side, but that curve looks nice. Our light is mounted up here in the back, and it looks all right. Not the tidiest thing, but this will work for our purposes. The thing is sort of tilted down a bit, so I might try to see if I can bend the bracket to have it be a little more vertical. See if that works. And then the next step is we will make the bracket for the other side. And then I need to drill a hole through this bolt so that these wires can fit through, can run through and go into this column here, where they will connect down with the wiring harness that comes from the front, which ends up somewhere down there. So we'll get the other bracket made, and then we will hollow out this bolt. Stay tuned. Well, we did it. Finally got these brackets made. Not the prettiest. They'll work. Next time I make these, they'll be prettier. So the next step is to get these primed and painted. And then what we need to do is drill a hole in one of the bolts, mounting bolts, for these wires to pass through. So our next step in mounting these lights onto the truck is we need to drill a hole through this bolt for these wires to pass through. The bolts, the bolt holds the bracket onto the truck, and inside where it bolts through is a channel that drops down to where the wires meet up with the wiring harness that comes from the front, the rest of the electrical system. So I could just drill another hole in that channel and then run the wires through that, but originally they had, well, not a bolt, it was a threaded rod. The original light was built a little differently. But I think we already have the hole. I think it's easier to drill a hole through these bolts and run wires through it. I've also never done it before. So I figured, why not put a hole in the bolt, have some fun. Now, the thing is the original bolts were these 3/8 bolts, which worked fine for the original lights, which only had 2 wires. These new lights have 3 wires, and so we have to be sure that these 3 can pass through whatever hole we're going to be drilling. Now, the problem is there's not enough room to drill a hole through this 3/8 bolt that will be big enough for these wires to fit through. I did some measuring. It's close, but it really doesn't leave a lot of material left in the bolt to snug down on. This bolt isn't holding a lot of weight, it's just that one bracket and the light, but why cut it close when we could use a bigger bolt? What this means is we will have to drill out the hole on the truck to accommodate the slightly larger 1/2-inch bolt, but that's pretty straightforward, and there's going to be plenty of room to put a hole through the center of this for these wires. So I've measured the wires, and the thickest point is definitely where these 3 plugs will have to pass through, and it comes to about a 1/4 inch, a little more than a 1/4 inch. This is measuring 0.28. I could probably fudge that a little bit. So I think if we cut a 1/4 inch hole through this, we will be fine. That should be plenty. If we do need a little more, we can always just make it a little larger. And a 1/4 inch is a little inside the minor diameter, which is the distance sort of from the bottom of thread to the bottom of thread. The major diameter is from the outer thread to outer thread, and that's what measures 1/2 on SAE bolts, the major diameter. And the minor diameter is from the inside of the thread to the inside of the thread. So basically the width of this cylinder here. That's a spec. I don't know what that is off the top of my head, but the minor diameter is a spec for these bolts. So anyway, just measuring this with my cheap calipers, I know that I have at least 300 thousandths of an inch. So 250 or a 1/4 inch leaves us plenty of room on either side. So we will get this chucked up in the drill press. Actually, first we need to find the center of this. So I'm going to do it in janky fashion, because again, we have some play since we are using the bigger bolt. So I'm going to find 12.5. I need a new set of calipers. These do not have
hundredths of an inch. So I can't measure to 12.5 inches, which is half of a quarter. But whatever. So actually what I'm going to do here, because it's kind of hard to take the measurement off the, to reference it off the outside of the thread. So I'm just going to measure this inner thing here. It doesn't have to be dead center. So I'm measuring 0.4, so if I take half of that at 0.2, so this is basically the center of the bolt. And so what I want to do now is mark this with a pencil. Let's see if a pencil is going to be accurate enough. I have to kind of hold this thing while I do it. So I mark it from one side, I mark it from the other side, I mark it from the top, this third side, and then the bottom. Can I see that? Yeah, I can sort of see that. It's subtle. So then, what I want to do is I have my center punch. I want to punch a hole, but I don't think I have my mallet. So I'm going to run and get that real quick. Got my hammer now. So I'm going to find the center of my mark here. Should be pretty close to the center of this thing, and this will help the drill bit sit, because we want to drill it with a narrow drill bit. Alright. So that gives us a little divot in the center for our drill bit to find. We're pretty close to the center. This isn't machining. So it'll work for our purposes. All right, let's get this set up in the drill bit and take a hole out of it. We're over at the drill press, and I have a center drill chucked up here. A center drill is a thicker than normal drill bit. The idea is it will drill kind of a straight hole because it's thicker than usual. It's a lot more rigid and won't kind of bounce around. So it's nice when you're trying to get something that's right on. They use these in lathes a lot. And here I want to make sure that I'm really hitting this, this little divot that I made. And this should sit in there pretty well and help drill a straight starter hole. We're not going to go very far in it. It's not meant to go too far. It's just meant to give you something to start with. Let's come in with your next bit. So, my glasses on here. Let's put a center in it. All right. So all we need to do, just get a little starter hole, and now we'll come in with a regular bit to fit that. All right, we're in here with our pilot-sized bit. This is an M3 because I feel like mixing it up. The final hole is going to be a 1/4 inch, which is SAE. But I had my metric bit here, so we're going to use that. Doesn't really matter as long as we get to our final size. All right, let's drill through this. Thing wrapped around my bit here. Come on. Whew, quite the chip. You see that thing go flying? That's why we wear glasses. All right, back to it. Now we're in here with a 1/4 inch, which should be as much as we need. Drop some oil in there. Off we go. Through, clear off the spinning thing of danger. All right. Let's do a quick test. Still a little tight. I think I can feed these things through one at a time, and that'll work. Yeah, that'll work. There is room to go a little wider. I can see I'm not exactly on center. It doesn't matter. Do I want to go a little wider? I think it's probably good. What I'll do is add a little chamfer to the top and bottom here. Got my chamfering bit set up. We're just gonna touch on this edge, break it. Cool. Probably more than I needed to. And then we will do it quickly on the other side and be done with this bolt. Voila. One bolt with a hole through it. So it's still a little tight. You have to kind of feed these things through. These leads through one at a time, but they fit eventually. It's also a little tight, but yeah, there we go. All right, just like that. A bolt with a hole through it for passing wires through. Out back of the truck, we've got to widen our bolt hole to fit our new 1/2 inch bolt, and we can mount everything up. This bit's a little oversized, 37/64, bigger than I would choose, but it's all I got. Pretty grabby. Deeper this here. Got our bracket. Let's pull this through. So it's a little tricky because I gotta mount this nut on the inside. Mounts a couple of these things, but the wires, it's gotta go over the wires. So here we go. Washer, lock washer, and a nut. we shredded our paint job a little bit, but no big deal. We can come back and touch that up. I think I want to get another washer for outside here. But let's see. I have this on backwards. You see how it's kind of tilted down because my brackets are at an angle. Picked the wrong one. This one's for the other side. Cool. Okay, well, let's take it off and put the other one on. Here we are. Back with the lights. They are installed. They are plugged in. I'll hide these wires once I'm sure it's working. Let's give it a test. I have to run up to the front to turn it on to see if it works, then run back here to check if it works. I'm not sure how I'll test the brake lights because I have to have my foot on the brake to get those up, but at least we can see if these running lights will work. So let's give it a shot. Nothing. What? Okay, the problem was dumb. The problem was that the wire that goes from this running light, so it plugs into a harness up here, which I'll show you in a second, runs down and then connects to the main wiring harness that goes up to the front of the truck and the rest of the electrical system. Right here, there's another connection. That wire was unplugged, so the light's not going to light up if the wire's unplugged. So I got that plugged in. Let's try it one more time. Ta-da! Let's check the other side. The other side is also lit up. Awesome. So these lights are cool. They're kind of dim, and you really need to be like straight back from this lens in order to see it well. I can kind of see it from here. Well, it'll work for now. So now all we need to do is to test these brake lights. I'm just gonna go hit the brake pedal. You guys are gonna find out before I did if it works. I'm gonna have to check the footage on it, but we've got power, so I got high hopes. Stay tuned. You know, before I did, I gotta cut the, stop the camera rolling and check the footage. I'll be back. Well, here we are at the end of another adventure, getting these things installed. I think the switch is still a little finicky that turns these running lights on and off, because they don't always come on. I have to kind of jiggle a little bit, but I will worry about that later. For now, got these sweet headlights up and running, tail lights up and running, my running light, and my cool stop light, which is a little safer if I need to stop on the road, which I probably need to do. And with that, we're one step closer to taking it out. Just a couple things left. Stay tuned for those videos as well. So if you like this long adventure, me fumbling through these brackets, which end up looking pretty good, please like this video, subscribe to the channel for more stuff, leave me a comment with good ideas because I could use them. And with that, see you next time. Stay groovy.